Right, so we're talking about WrestleMania 2, just to continue from the last video that I had done. So WrestleMania 2 was 1986 professional wrestling pay-per-view produced by WWF. It is the second annual WrestleMania, took place on Monday, April 7th, 1986, making it the only WrestleMania that was not held on a traditional Sunday. Until two-night WrestleMania 36 in April of 2020. The event took place at three venues on the same day. First at Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. I'm just going to call it Coliseum because I can't say it apparently. In Uniondale, New York, and then at Rosemont Horizons in Chicago, suburb of Rosemont, Illinois, and finally at the Los Angeles Memorial Sports Arena in Los Angeles, California. Each venue had its own card of 4 matches each, totaling 12 matches for pay-per-view broadcast shown back to back. And then the main event of WrestleMania 2, which was in Los Angeles, featured the World Heavyweight Champion Hulk Hogan defending the title against King Kong Bundy in a steel cage match. In the last match in Chicago, the British Bulldogs faced the Dream Team for the WWF Tag Team Championship. While the final match in Uniondale was a boxing match pitting Mr. T against Roddy Piper, the undercard in Uniondale also saw the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion Randy Savage defend his title against George Steele. While the card in Chicago featured 20-man battle royal involving WWF wrestlers and National Football League players, WrestleMania 2 received generally poor reviews, with much of the criticism being centered around holding it in 3 separate events across the country. Many publications rank it as amongst the worst WrestleMania events of all time. So following the success of WrestleMania 1 in 1985, the American professional wrestling promotion WWF scheduled a second WrestleMania for the following year. This established WrestleMania as an annual pay-per-view event for the company. Unlike the previous year, WrestleMania 2 was scheduled to be held at 3 venues on Monday, April 7th, 1986. The Nassau Veterans Memorial in Uniondale, New York, and the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago, suburb of Rosemont, Illinois, and the Los Angeles Memorial Sports Arena in Los Angeles. Each location scheduled its own card, 4 matches each, are broadcast back to back, starting in Uniondale, then Chicago, then finally Los Angeles. The event featured separate commentary and announced teams in each location. The commentating teams consisted of Vince McMahon, Susan St. James in New York, Gorilla Monsoon, Junior Eklund and Kathy Lee Crosby in Chicago, and Jesse Ventura, Alfred Hayes, and Oliveira in Los Angeles. The known announcers were Howard Finkel in New York, Chet Pock in Chicago, and Lee Marshall in Los Angeles. The celebrities that were featured were Ray Charles sang the edition of America the Beautiful before the show at the Nassau's Veteran Memorial in New York, and celebrity guest attendance in New York segments include Cab Calloway, Darryl Dawkins, G. Gordon Liddy, Joan Rivers, Joe Frazier, Lou Diva Herb, and Susan St. James. Celebrity guest attendance for Chicago were Carla Pella, Dick Butkins, Ed Jones, Ozzy Osbourne, Bill Franklin, Ernie Holmes, Harvey Martin, Jim Colvett, Ross Francis, William Perry, and Kathy Lee Crosby. The Los Angeles segments include celebrities guests Ricky Schroeder, Robert Conrad, Tommy Lasorda, and Oliveira. So the storylines. The card featured 12 matches, which resulted in scripted storylines, and 5 results were predetermined by WWF building to the event storylines. Between the characters played out on WWF's primary television programs, Championship Wrestling, All-Star Wrestling, Saturday Night's Main Event, and Primetime Wrestling. The 3 main event feuds were set up on March 1st, 1986 on Saturday Night Main Event. 5. The main feud heading into WrestleMania 2 was Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy, with the 2 battling over the World Heavyweight Championship. Although they wrestled occasionally before, their first national televised encounter was on November 2nd, 1985. Saturday main events 3, where Hogan teamed up with Andre the Giant against Andre's rival Bundy and Big John Studd. Hogan and Andre won by disqualification. Hogan defended his WWE title against the Magnificent Morocco. Just as Hogan was about to pin Morocco, Bundy ran into the ring and with Morocco's help initiated an assault on Hogan, reportedly crushing him with his body weight to break his ribs. Hogan had a very serious scripted injury, while Bundy challenged Hogan for the title with revenge on his mind. Hogan decided not to heed his doctor's advice and accepted this challenge. A match between the two were booked for the two in the steel cage for the WWF title. Now, the second feud heading into the event was between Mr. T and Roddy Piper. Piper established himself as a top heel in WWF in 1984. A year later, he joined Paul Orndorff and Bob Orton to feud with Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, who defeated them in the main event of the first ever WrestleMania. The Piper-Mr. T feud restarted in 1986 after the real-life hatred for each other became known, prompting the WWF to turn into their animosity into the feud. Piper and others in the locker room genuinely disliked Mr. T because he was an actor and had no prior wrestling training. In response, Mr. T became a special WWF boxer and began competing in boxing matches. On Saturday night's main event 5, Mr. T defeated Orton in a boxing match. After the match, Piper distracted Mr. T, allowing Orton to attack him from behind, starting a 2-on-1 assault. Mr. T demanded revenge and was allowed, leading to his boxing match against Piper. The third feud heading into WrestleMania was between the Dream Team and the British Bulldogs over the tag team championships. Beefcake and Valentine won the titles from the US Express. The British Bulldogs challenged Beefcake and Valentine for the titles immediately. After their win, they retained their titles against Bulldogs in the house show, but getting disqualified. Yet they again defended the titles against Bulldogs in Saturday night's main event 5, where they emerged victorious against them. After the Bulldogs twice failed to win the titles, Dream Team agreed to defend their titles again for the final time at a title match at WrestleMania. The other major feud heading to WrestleMania 2 was between Randy Savage and George Steele. Its genesis came after Steele, who used the Neanderthal type missing link type gimmick, became smitten with Savage's manager, the beautiful Miss Elizabeth. Their first meeting took place at Saturday night main event 4 before Savage won the Intercontinental Championship. Steele would frequently be distracted by Elizabeth, which Savage used to his advantage, along with former champion Tito Santana. He was in the Los Angeles segment of the event. Steele became one of Savage's top challengers for the title. New York, in the first match, the show was in the New York Arena. Paul Orndorff faced the Magnificent Morocco in the early part of the match. Orndorff body slammed Morocco as the crowd reacted and Orndorff celebrated. He turned towards Mr. Fuji and made a racist, slanty-eyed gesture, followed by an Italian salute. This controversial moment was edited out of most home video versions of the match and is edited out of the version shown on Peacock and Netflix. Both men fought to a double count-out. The next was the WWF Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship match between Savage and Steele, where Savage was seconded by his real-life wife, Miss Elizabeth, and late in the match, Steele became the first man to ever kick out of Savage's signature elbow drop from the top turnbuckle. Savage pinned Steele with a roll-off and put both of his feet on the ropes for leverage. As a result, Savage retained the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. The third match was between Jake Roberts and George Wells. Roberts hit a DDT on Wells and pinned him for the win of the match. After the match, Roberts allowed his snake Damien to slither all over Wells, who foamed from the mouth. The last match was a boxing match between Mr. T and Roddy Piper, who was seconded by boxer Joe Frazier, while Piper was seconded by boxing trainer Lou Duva. Piper was disqualified for body slamming T at 1:15 in the 4th round. Now we're going to get into the Chicago matches. So the first match from Chicago portion of WrestleMania 2 was the Women's Championship match between Fabulous Moolah and Velvet McIntyre. McIntyre attempted a splash on Moolah from the second turnbuckle, but Moolah sidestepped, and McIntyre missed. Missed the move. Moolah took the advantage and pinned McIntyre to retain her title. For the second match, the flag match between Corporal Kirkenshinner and Nikola Volkov, Freddie Blassie seconded Volkov. Blassie threw his cane at Volkov, but Kirkenshinner caught it and hit Volkov with it, pinning him for the victory. The third match was a 20-man battle royal involving WWF wrestlers and National Football League players, including Jim Corvette, Bill Frolic, Ross Francis, Ernie Haynes, Harvey Martin, and William Perry. The WWF stars include Andre the Giant, Ted Arcindi, Tony Atlas, the Hart Foundation, the Killer Bees, Hilly Billy Jim, the Iron Sheik, King Tonga, Pedro Morales, Bruno Sammartino, Danny Spivey, and Big John Studd. In the end of the match, Andre the Giant and both members of the Hart Foundation were the final 3 participants. Andre eliminated Neidhart, then Hart, to win the Battle Royal. The last match was a WWF Tag Team Championship match between the British Bulldogs and the Dream Team. Ozzy Osbourne and Lou Albano seconded the Bulldogs. After 3 minutes of back and forth action, Smith pushed Valentine into the corner, where Valentine knocked heads with Dynamite Kid. Kid fell to the floor while Smith pinned Valentine to win the titles to end the Dream Team's 7-month reign. Now we're going to get into the Los Angeles matches. There were 4 more matches. Steamboat faced Hercules in the first match. Hercules tried to hit a flying body press but missed. Steamboat followed by hitting a flying body press of his own for the pinfall victory. Adrian Adonis, seconded by Jimmy Hart, defeated Uncle Elmer after a diving headbutt. The Funk Brothers faced Junkyard Dog and Tito Santana in a tag match. Jimmy Hart accompanied the Funk Brothers. Hoss Funk distracted the referee. Hart took the advantage and gave his megaphone to Terry Funk, who hit the Junkyard Dog, and then pinned him for the win. Finally, the main event of WrestleMania 2, a WWF World Heavyweight Championship steel cage match in which Hogan defended his title against King Kong Bundy. Hogan's ribs were heavily taped due to an assault by Bundy on March 1st edition of Saturday Night Main Event 5. Bobby Heenan seconded Bundy in the match. At the start, Bundy removed the tape from Hogan's ribs. However, Hogan fought back and rammed Bundy's head into the steel cage. He then tried to scoop slam on Bundy but missed it. Bundy hit an avalanche and a big splash on Hogan. However, Hogan hooked up and hit a power slam on Bundy, followed by a leg drop. He climbed to the steel cage, but Bundy caught his legs. Hogan kicked Bundy and climbed over the top of the steel cage and down to the floor to win the match and retain the title. After the match, Hogan caught Bobby Heenan inside the cage as Bundy was reeling from the match. Hogan rammed Heenan's head into the cage before an atomic dropping him outside. The reception, the critical response to the show was poor, with the decision of the host of 3 locations highly criticised. John Canton of TGR Wrestling Net said, I'm sure that the idea of doing this show at 3 different venues sounds like a good idea on paper to Vince McMahon, but it was not effective in terms of producing a quality program. Voice of Wrestling Brian Rose commented that he could see why WWE went with just 1 arena from this point forward. Jason from Pro Wrestling Net was also happy to learn that subsequent WrestleManias would not held at 3 arenas, saying overall WrestleMania 2 was excessive. The idea of running the show on 3 separate markets was ill-conceived cash grab, and I'm happy that they're never going to do this down the road again. John Carton of the TJR Retro was very critical of the show's prominent main events. He commented that every one of the big matches on the show was a disappointment. From the Hoagie Bundy cage match to the Battle Royal Piper to the Piper and Mr. T boxing match, if the big matches are that poor, it hurts the whole show. 411manias.com, Robert McNew also had negative opinions of the three main matches. McNew gave the boxing match a 1 out of 5 stars, saying the big pull-apart brawl after was absolute crap. That took way too long and ended in a non-finish. He gave the steel cage match between Hogan and Bundy 2 stars, saying it felt more like a Saturday night main event match rather than a WrestleMania main event. McNeil awarded the entire event a score of 2 out of 10 and said it lacks historical significance around WrestleMania 1 to even watch it for that purpose. This was 3 hours of pain and I'd love to have it back. Thankfully WWF would redeem themselves with a huge raid the next year, but this show was a huge disappointment. However, of the WWE Tag Team Championship match, McNeil said the tremendous match that breaks the streak of suck that had been the show thus far was one of the things I really liked about this match, was that it seemed to break from the traditional tag match formula, where there was no extended face in the parallel sequence, nor was there a hot tag at any point. Easily the match of the night. He awarded it 3.5 stars out of 5, despite the general poor reviews for WrestleMania 2. Brandon Stroud from Upbrooks called it the event superior to WrestleMania 1, coming to WrestleMania 2 is, believe it or not, a gigantic improvement to WrestleMania 1. It's not the best show ever, it's nowhere near as important as 3, and we wouldn't get a great deal in total WrestleMania until X, but it's the kind of thing where it kicks your ass when you're a kid, and that's important. WrestleMania 2 is frequently listed in publications as amongst the worst WrestleMania events of all time, with some ranking it the worst. Sports Illustrated summed up the event and probably wouldn't have given even if it was all in one city, but it's splitting up definitely did not help. Randy Savage and George Steele continued their feud with each other throughout 1986. This led to 2 rematches for the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship on Saturday night's main event. In the early 1987, both times within the Intercontinental title on the line, the second time with the management services of Elizabeth on the line. Steele lost both times. Savage feuded intensely with Hogan, but was unsuccessful in winning the World Heavyweight Championship from him. The new tag team champions, the British Bulldogs, prepared to face the challenging tag teams on October 4th, 1986. Saturday night's main event 7, they defeated former champions Dream Team in a 2 out of 3 falls match to retain the titles. Hulk Hogan continued his WWF World Heavyweight Championship reign in addition to Savage. His top competition in 1986 included adorable Adrian Adonis, Hercules Hernandez, Camilla, and in the biggest feud of his year, Paul Orndorff. A storyline developed from focus on friendship between Hogan and Orndorff, with Adrian Adonis eventually starting trouble between the two, causing Orndorff to turn against Hogan. Bundy, meanwhile, would team with Big John Studd on occasion, and he would also challenge Hogan on and off the World Heavyweight Championship for the next year and a half until leaving WWF in 1988. Following the Battle Royal win, Andre's career was a crossroads, not yet evident to the fans. Andre was suffering from health effects from terminal illness known as acromegaly, a syndrome resulting from excessive production of growth hormone, led to his gigantic size. Because of his health, as well as accepting a starring role in the movie Princess Bride, Andre took a hiatus from the ring, explaining his absence and storyline. That he was decided to have no-showed for a tag team match, pitting him and his partner choosing against long-time rival Big John Studd and King Kong Bundy. Andre would then be suspended at the insistence of manager Bobby Heenan. Andre would return to compete under a massive partner of the new team called the Machines. Studd and Bundy insisted, but they were able to prove Andre and the Giant Machine were the same person. WrestleMania 2 marked the major pay-per-view appearance of Roddy Piper during his initial heel run. Shortly before the event, He would take 4 weeks worth of Piper's Pit segments that would air WWF syndicate programs in April, and he took 4 months hiatus from the ring. When Piper returned to WWF in August, he became face and then began a violent feud with Adrian Adonis, who had in the meantime started his own Piper Pit type talk show called The Flower Shop. Jesse the Body Ventura also took leave of absence after WrestleMania 2. Like Piper, he filmed several weeks worth of his talk show segment. The Body Shop to air in the coming weeks. Afterward, the Magnificent Morocco would be a fill-in host for the segment until the final installments aired August 30th, 1986. Late August, Ventura returned to television tapings for first WWF Superstar Wrestling, continuing his role as a heel, favouring colour commentator. WrestleMania 2 has seen the financial success from PPV purchase standpoint, earning an estimate of $5 million, leading to cable television business magazine to complement the event, stating, "If anything we learned from WrestleMania, it was that the right promotion makes an event successful." The magazine described how Cablevision saw the increase of 5,300 subscribers in the week of the pay-per-view alone, compared to new subscribers on average to 300 to 400, while stating it was the third most purchased pay-per-view event in that. To that point, WrestleMania 2 would air in the reruns on Showtime in July 1986, and even after some point storylines started, the event had concluded. So that's all we have. Obviously, I don't. Looking at the actual matches, I don't think it had that much. It had decent star power considering for the time, but considering that the ones that are extremely big and everyone remembers, it's just Randy Savage, Jake Roberts, Roddy Piper, and Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan is what most people remember, especially the young ones. Obviously, if you're older, you know the majority of them. I know quite a few of them, but never really watched most of the people in there. To be honest, when I've gone back and looked at some of the matches compared to what we get now, it's not as good. But considering for the time, probably the fans who were around at that time probably loved the way it was. But yeah, you compare it to now when we get all this flashiness and all this really good storylines compared to back then. The point is one of the worst probably compared to the rest of the WrestleManias we get in the future. It's probably compared, probably is one of the worst ones. I think for the time it was probably good. Now not so good because obviously everything's improved, but I wouldn't say because obviously I wasn't alive then, I can't say whether it was good at the time or not because I wasn't there. But tell me what your favourite WrestleMania is, and then I'll continue this WrestleMania videos either tomorrow or another time. Depends if I record again today. I probably won't record another one today for WrestleMania. Probably be a different video, but hope you enjoy.